And the good God was fighting with the bad God not to cause a Holocaust. And at that particular fight, my good God didn't win. And the bad God ruled. Until my good God recovered 6 years, 7 years later, or whatever. And he fought again and he won. But those gods were your grandfathers. They're the ones that liberated. Your grandfathers were the gods to us. Because they went out there, they gave their lives, not necessarily for us in Europe or the Jews or the Holocaust, but to retain and maintain your safety, your future. And they were in my way, in my fashion, a God. And when I see them today, they're my gods. I worship them. They're the ones that went out there getting murdered, killed, just like I was, we were. So, again, I'm not trying to diminish your question. All I'm saying is that this is my interpretation of how I felt and what the Holocaust and hunger is. And again, I'm saying to you that it's something that I was there at your age. I wasn't older. I wasn't 20, 30 years old, so my thoughts were different. Remember, when you were 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, you think differently. Because you have no family, you have no children, you have no wife, you're by yourself. So, your survival as a young child is only, will I ever see my mother and my sister and my dad? Will I ever be able to be something else than what I am? These are the things that we were as children focused on. I was. Every day I would, where's my mother? First was hunger. That's right. First was hunger. Then it was, where's my mother, my parents, and everybody. And however, the adults, the people that your fathers and your people that who had children and lives and jobs and had already a life going, they were the ones that suffered the most because they lost everything. They had nothing to live for. And they really died faster than younger people who didn't have these burdens on. I'm just going to run you through when I went to when I was in Auschwitz. We were 4 bunks high, as you see these pictures. These pictures are not exaggerated. They are what they are, and that's how we lived. I was in I was in 5 working camps. It was called. We would be a requisition to go to jobs, to dig ditches, to whatever the Germans wanted us to do. We went from these camps to these jobs and back to these camps. The camps were really no more than another place to kill you, another place for you to die, because they would work us to death. So whether you were killed in an exterminating camp or if you were killed working, we lost just as many people in there because they didn't treat you any better. It was just that you knew you were going to live until you dropped dead because of that. Let me give you some of the conditions that I lived under, we lived under. Can you ever remember up to this point when you were so cold, when it was so bitter cold, the snows, the winds were blowing, you couldn't stand to be out for a minute. You wanted to take cover. You wanted to cover yourself. Well, kids, this is what I was subjected to between November in the Bavarian mountains. Some of the war camps were in Bavaria. And I've never been to Bavaria, that part of the land of the world. It gets very cold. They're on the mountains, and the winds go between 30 and 40 below zero. And it's bitter cold. And we had to endure that, wearing that same little striped uniform made out of burlap paper, and my Holland shoes and my hat. And they would take us out and keep us out in what they would call hotels, so that we could freeze to death. They were having fun. They were drunk up. So they would call out the coppers to get them out, and they let us stand out there, who knows for how long, and people were dropping dead from frost and exhaustion and just gave up. So that was another thing we had to deal with during the winter time. I can tell you where they would have fun, where they would make kids like me, there weren't too many of us, fight for a piece of bread. They would make us fight for it, and the winner would get the bread, to eat the bread. After a while we got smart, so we fought, and one of us gave up and we split the bread. You know, we figure things out. These are some of the things that were happening to us in the camps. After I left the war camps, after I survived the war camps, they took us on a death march to Dachau. And you go read about Dachau in your books. There was another famous extermination camp, and outside Munich, in Germany. There I was kept until the Americans liberated, 1945, May of 1945.